Robotics, I mentioned to you, is an important area. We are backing a company called Perceptine, which is a humanoid robotics with dexterity, tactile sensors, etc. Very smart, experienced, again IIT Bits Pilani type of team based out of Hyderabad. They're initially creating robots which will help in automation of the manufacturing plants, and then eventually we will get into the physical AI, which is what China and America is targeting. But we'll initially start with some 3-4 important problems and create robots to solve that problem in this manufacturing plants.
Hi, wherever you're joining me, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to India Tech Report, a platform dedicated to chronicling and supporting the growth of India's deep tech and climate tech ecosystems, with the occasional segue into other areas of tech entrepreneurship. I'm Hari Arakli, and this is my In Conversation podcast, where I bring you conversations with founders, investors, industry leaders, and other stakeholders in these sectors. In today's episode, Ganapathy Gani Subramaniam, founding managing partner of Yali Capital, a deep tech VC firm in Bengaluru, joins me to discuss the firm's debut fund, which had its final close about 2 months ago. At 893 crore rupees, or about $104 million, this is perhaps India's biggest deep tech only fund currently. And don't miss Gani's down-to-earth take on what that really means. The fund is backed by marquee names such as Qualcomm, India's Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Infosys Innovation Fund, the Tata Group, and Intel Corp CEO Lip-Bu Tan, who's also an advisor to the fund. Gani's career traces a journey from semiconductor design engineer, starting with Texas Instruments, to building his own block-level chip design startup, Cosmic Circuits, which was later acquired by Cadence Design Systems, to VC investor through several years at Celesta Capital, a well-known multinational deep tech fund, before starting Yali. As many of you would know, Yali's founding partners, Gani and Matthew Syriac, partner Karthikeyan Madathil, and CFO Sunil Patil bring formidable industry experience to their endeavor. In this conversation, we cover Yali's approach to deep tech in India, which includes investing not only in early-stage startups, but also, selectively, some advanced late-stage ventures. Gani also gives us a quick overview of the investments they've already made. The conversation also offers some context on how Indian deep tech startups are navigating challenges of scale and commercialization, and why Yali is betting on the next decade of deep tech innovation. So first of all, Gani, thank you for making time for this.
Thank you, Hari. I am also looking forward for it.
So for people who don't know about your work or Yali Capital, and those who, I guess, more of a general audience, can you start us off by just giving us a brief history of why you started Yali? How did this come about? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'll also start a little bit about myself. I graduated from NIT Trichy, called RC Trichy at that time, in 1989, and Texas Instruments had just started, and they started in 1985. So I was one of those very early recruitment into Texas Instruments. So spent nearly 15 years in TI, and led a lot of chip design activities. And the final, in the last role, I was the chip wireless LAN design head worldwide. I was based out of US, managed multiple centers in US, Israel, and also in India. Then I came back to India in 2003 and decided to start a company called Cosmic Circuits with 4 of my colleagues from TI. And in 2005, it was very difficult to do a product company, and that's a time where a lot of services companies were doing extremely well. And but we decided to do a product company, and we called it as Cosmic Circuits, where we ended up doing block level designs and licensed it to worldwide customers. So some of the top some of the top mobile customers today you have, or the large semiconductor companies were our customers. And we won the TSMC IP Partner Award twice. The company almost stayed for 8.5 years. We only put 50 lakh rupees capital into the company, and when we sold the company to Cadence, we nearly had $7 million in cash and year on year profitable, and almost had all the top semiconductor companies, system companies in the world as our customer. That happened in 2013. And then before selling it to Cosmic Circuits, we separated a small portion of it called Cyril Systems. And Cyril Systems was led by Sumit Mathur, who was one of the first, almost like a founding team of Cosmic Circuits. And with him, the Cyril Systems ended up, and we were in the board. I was the chairman of the board. All the founders of Cosmic, invested in Cyril and also were board members. And Sumit ran the company. And Cyril was the first Indian company to ship more than 70 million ICs from India. And they also had some of these tier one end equipment makers as the customer. And Cyril eventually got acquired by Micron in 2023. So Cosmic Circuits, which I had co-founded with four others, got acquired by Cadence. Cyril Systems got acquired by Micron. 2014 or 15, that's the time I was thinking what to do, because Cyril was at the time a little bit stable. And then Libu Tan, who was the Cadence CEO at that time, who is also a legendary investor, asked me to start a fund for India. And I felt that I was not ready. And I said, why don't I join an existing fund and learn, and then decide, then at the right time start a fund. And that's how I ended up, in a fund called WRV, which later called Celesta, which he had started with Michael Marks, who was the SanDisk chairman, ex-Flextronics CEO, and Nicholas Brathwaite, who was the CTO of Flextronics, three legends of Silicon Valley, a very deep tech oriented fund. And I took the role of being a partner to lead investments in India. So that was the role of mine in WRVA, which later called Celesta. So I led investments into Aura Semi, which is a chip design company, Idea Forge, drone company, Tonbo Imaging, electro-optics company, and QLEX, which is an organic LED emitter company from Japan. And then I spent nearly 8.5 years with WRVA / Celesta. Then I stayed in Idea Forge almost from Angel all the way till we took it to public. So that kind of gave me a full experience of the startup, right from, Cosmic Circuits also gave me that experience, but it didn't take any investment. But in Idea Forge, I had also had to play a role of executive chair. And I learned the skill of fundraising, and taking it from almost from an angel round to all the way till IPO exit, and worked very closely with bright entrepreneurs. And once that skill set I acquired, I thought this is the right time for me to step out. So I kind of stepped out of the Celesta fund in 2023 and decided to do Yali. And when I wanted to do Yali, I was just looking for who should be my partners. Naturally, Libu has been guiding me for last 15 years. And at that time, he was in the Intel board, not the Intel CEO. So naturally, he was one of the first person I had reached out to. And he said that he will closely involve and he'll become an advisor to us, and spend a lot of time with us. So Libu was in, and he also was one of the sponsor LPs. Then I wanted somebody who has really had a great track record of investments. Then I looked up to Matthew Syriac, who had kind of supported us with Idea Forge. So Matthew comes from, he was ex-head of Blackstone in India, then came out of Blackstone and did extremely well with investments in MTAR, Data Patterns, all deep tech companies he had taken it to IPO. See, at that time, nobody thought you can make money out of deep tech. Matthew was one of those first guys to show that deep tech investments can give good returns, and he's a very strong private equity investor. So I thought between me and Matthew as GPs and Libu as an advisor, we are a good team. And of course, the thesis is always deep tech. That's all we know. So we ended up forming a deep tech fund, fully focused on India. And with me and Matthew as GPs and Libu as an advisor. And now the team is, we have expanded to, we have Karthik Marathil, who is a long time Texas Instruments chip designer, who has joined us as a partner. Then we have Sandeepan, who was again, done undergrad in the US and IMA, MBA, joined us as a principal, and we are and we have the Cosmic Circuit CFO joining here as a CFO. So we expanded the team, and and spending a lot more time in investments in deep tech in India. Fairly long answer, but I hope it gives you some feel for what we have done so far.
Yeah, it's very interesting. In fact, I was going to ask you about the people at Yali Capital, and definitely the very complementary partnership between you and Matthew, for sure. I mean, not just the VC, but some PE flavor that you all bring in terms of the late stage startups. I remember last time we spoke, although it was a brief conversation, you had some interesting anecdotes about the name Yali. And I think, a general audience will also kind of appreciate if you want to briefly tell us about how you chose Yali as the name.
Yeah. So choosing a name is not an easy task, because most of the domain names gets registered far ahead. But Yali is the only name it came to my mind, and Yali is basically a mythological animal. It is there in many South Indian temples. Predominantly, you pick Rameshwaram temple, Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple, Tanjore temples, all the big temples. You will see Yali. Yali is basically a fusion animal. There's a multiple varieties of yali, but the most common one is called simha yali, which has got a lion face, crocodile teeth, pig's ear, and essentially it's an animal of amazing strength and savior of humanity, or guardian of humanity. In fact, in most of the South Indian temples, above the deity, in the Gopuram, they will have this Yali as what is called as Kirti Mugam, essentially saying that I'm the guardian for the deity also. So we, in general, VCs are seen as vultures, and not many people really thought we could help the entrepreneurs. But we believed in Yali that we come from operator background. We have run companies, we have been spent a lot of time in corporate, started companies, taken the companies to exit, been in the board, helped the companies to go from angel to exit. So we thought, we want to work very closely with the entrepreneurs and being seen as a part of the founding team. So that is one of the reason of the name Yali. Basically, it's again guardian of humanity. We wanted to see that we are very working closely with the entrepreneurs, and and it's a very Indian name, 2 syllables, easy to pronounce, and all this is the reasons for us to pick the name Yali.
Okay, let's talk a bit about your fund as well. One of the important reasons in terms of the context as to why we are doing this conversation. It's been about 2 months now since you announced your opening India Deep Tech Fund, and I think, is it one of the biggest dedicated India Deep Tech funds, or the biggest currently?
Yeah, I mean, so first is we launched the fund in July 2024. And Libu was kind enough to come and launch the fund, and I think that's the time I started interactions with you also, if I remember right. And and from July 2024, and even before that, we were in the fundraise mode. And in the last 1 year, we have kind of completed the fundraise. So, as you rightly said, July 14, 2025, we announced the closure of the fundraise. We have raised nearly 893 crores. And from whatever we understood, as a deep tech only as a thesis, because we don't do anything else, as only deep tech as a thesis, I've been told that it's the largest fundraise in India. But of course, there are very, very large funds in India which also does deep tech. And here we are only focused on deep tech, and we are only focused on Indian headquartered companies. So from that perspective, we were told that it's one of the largest fundraise.
And you have several marquee investors from Qualcomm to India's DPIIT and so on, and even the Infosys Innovation, so very big names. And you kind of overshot, even including your green shoe option, you've raised significantly more money. Can you give us a sense of what that reflects
Yeah. So when we started the fund, this is the first fund, right? I mean, I've been part of a fund. And Matthew also, by the way, doesn't have a fund. Florentry Advisors is largely deploying some friends and family capital. So we both have not raised fund by ourselves, but we do have a track record, right? I have certain track record, and Matthew has exceptional track record as an investor. But even then, we thought that let's take it slow. Let's do a simple fund of 500 crores target. We also wanted to keep a 310 crores as a green shoe. So totally 810 crores is what we thought we will go after. And at that time, we thought that 50% of the money I would raise it from outside India. I was just thinking that in India, deep tech as a thesis, I don't know how many people really believed in it, LPs. But I mean, lot of things happened which we didn't expect. One is we ended up raising 893 crores, which is I mean almost 80% more than our target. And the second is, we got nearly 78% of our money came from domestic. So a lot of people in India were backing us. They said that, you're giving a sincere try in creating deep tech companies, and we all want to be part of it. So we got really great marquee names, some of the very accomplished large family offices, I mean, tech entrepreneurs, family offices here have participated. As you rightly said, Qualcomm participated with us, Infosys, the SIDBI Fund of Fund through DPIT, a Self-Reliant India Fund, Tata's came in with a larger check, and many, just to say, the many individuals came in, right? For example, the Idea Forge founders came in as an individual. My co-founders, both in Cosmic Circuits and Cyril Systems, came in as a LP. And something like 10 of our employees in Cosmic Circuits and Cyril Systems have participated as LPs. So it's a very nice feeling that many in India, both individual, large family offices, corporates, all participated in the fund. We also were lucky to get a good attention from outside India, some very quality funds and quality individuals. For example, ex-CTO of a $1 trillion market cap company has come in. The entrepreneur who created companies which Apple bought and Google bought has come in. One of the Europeans' largest semiconductor companies executive has come in. So we really got a very, very talented set of team backing us. And now, it's our job now to convert that trust in us into creating some really good companies from here.
And can you give us a sense of how you'd select companies? Will deep science and R&D be a factor, or perhaps technology as a differentiator?
See, very deep science, very deep R&D is not something we are backing in the first fund. Okay, so the way to look at it is the companies, right? There is any startup is has risk, correct? And as a venture fund, please remember that somebody is trusting their money. And as I mentioned to you, many of the employees of my earlier firms have trusted nearly 20-25% of their net worth into the firm. Okay. So my primary job is to make sure that the trust is rewarded, right? So, and the thesis I've chosen is deep tech, because that is what we think we can do best. Now, when you look at a startup is all about risk, right? I mean, but what is that? If it broadly categorize that risk, there is one is technology risk, okay, which is essentially means it's a deep science, as you said. For example, let us say there is a problem. Let's say you want to create a new drug to solve some XYZ cancer, okay, and that's an untouched problem. Let us say for now. So no, you know that the technology itself, you don't know whether you will be able to create or not. You have a highly qualified people, but whether the technology itself can be done within the period of 10 years, etc., which we don't know. So we call it as a technology risk, right? Then the other piece is execution risk. For some reason, let us say, there is a huge market and there is a certain product you are trying to hit that market with some innovation. The execution, the technology piece you have in control because because of your past experiences, etc. But execution risk is always there. The team can collapse, funding may not happen, The very first output you give might be so bad that you don't have another chance to survive. So those are all called as execution risk. So broadly, startups are risky. Technology risk, which means the technology itself is yet to be proven. Execution is, it's happens with everybody, right? I mean, any company, there is execution risk. The founding team can collapse, money can collapse. The environment, COVID can come. All kinds of things could be execution risk. We are largely looking at companies in the first fund, which is not like a rocket science. It's not some extraordinary technology, but it is sufficient technology which is not easy to replicate. So all the deep tech thesis, first thing we are saying is we are not putting money because of business model change or something like that. For us, the mode should be technology. All the startups we are looking at is they're fundamentally backed by intellectual property, and that will be either patented or trade secret, etc. No questions on that. But is it from Nobel Prize worthy, or some extraordinary crucial patent, or a reasonable science? That we will make a call. Okay. So as in the first fund, we are making more and more call with technologies which is usually going to be commercialized, where we can monetize. So that is how we are approaching. We are, as of now today, not funding a fundamental discovery of a molecule which will lead into a Nobel Prize or extraordinary awards. But there is sufficient technology, sufficient moat, and which can create some large value companies from India. That is how we are focusing our thesis.
Can you extend this last aspect by adding your definition of deep tech, especially in the Indian context? In the Indian context, how would you look at what deep tech means?
Okay, so let us take chip design. Okay, chip design is now becoming very popular in India, and let us say, for argument's sake, you are creating a 5G mobile chipset which goes into your cell phone. Okay, so is 5G mobile chipset, is it something, a rocket science which nobody has done it before? The answer is no. Correct. There are, you all have 5G mobile phones. The 5G mobile set is done by many companies, including the Americans and the Koreans and the Chinese, etc. Right? But can you create this in India with your own patents and intellectual property? Answer is yes, but it is very difficult problem. It's not an easy problem. It's a very complex problem. So we believe deep tech is solving any complex problem. It may not be the first in the world. 5G mobile system is not the first in the world, but recreating that in India is a very, very intellectually challenging. You need extraordinary people to come together and create those type of work. So that is what we call it as deep tech companies. So the companies which is taking up projects which are sufficiently challenging, and where the patents and intellectual property are the moat, and that we classify it as a deep tech. In that deep tech, there is a small portion which is trying to create something very first time in the world. There is very small portion, okay, and those companies will be extraordinarily valued. That portion is not necessarily the massive focus for Yali. I'm just trying to distinguish, saying that deep tech doesn't mean that it has to be Nobel Prize worthy, or you are discovering a molecule, etc. Those are all deep tech, but that is one small portion of deep tech. There is a large portion of the deep tech where there is the incremental intellectual property and technology are taking or expanding the market, and we are focused on those type of companies with the first fund.
Okay, just to complete the more general information about the fund, more general information about the fund before moving on. Can you walk us through how you intend to invest from this fund? Typically, check sizes, the duration, and roughly how many startups over what time period would you want to finish deploying much of the first phase of your investment and so on?
Yeah, so the fund term is the whole lifetime of the fund is 10 plus 1 plus 1. Because deep tech requires time. And the fund duration, I mean the investment duration. So we'll identify all the startups in 4 years from the fund closure. Let's say the fund closure is July 2025. So by July 2029, we would have identified all the startups we wanted to invest in this fund. Okay. uh, and uh, uh, and after that you will do follow-ons and continue to work with the company. And I mean at some point you need to either go IPO or go merger or acquisition, or whatever the end result of that company is. And a number of companies we want to invest is, and before that we have a little different thesis. Usually you have seen funds either early stage or private equity, which is very late stage. If you look at Yali, I come with a strong operator background, being CEO of companies and taken it from early stage to exits. So that is one skill set I bring in, and Matthew brings in the private equity portion of it. He's a very strong investor. He is very focused on growth capital. So we thought that let us do a hybrid model where 70% of our money we will go and put it in early stage, which is seed and series A. 30% we will go and do it in the real growth stage. That is the last stage before the company gets exit, last fundraise before the company gets exit. So 70 in early stage, 30 in late stage. Number of companies we want to do 18. Initially we were thinking 15, but at that time we were thinking that we will only do 500 crore fundraise. But now, since we have got 893, we will do 18 companies, in which 15 will be in the early stage bucket, 3 will be in the late stage bucket. Okay. In the early stage bucket, our fund, the investment check size could start anything from 5 crore per company to 30 crores per company. We have done everything. We have done from 5 crores as a first check. We will do either 5 crores or I can go as high as 30 crores. In the late stage, we will do somewhere between 60 to 100 crores per company. We'll do only 3 companies. We'll do somewhere between 60 to 100 crores per company in late stage. Yeah, so deep tech is the underlying thesis, which means we will invest in companies which I mentioned before, reiterating, where technology is the moat. We don't want to see business model as a moat. We want technology as the moat. You have something which the competition doesn't have access to, and thereby there is a significant obstacle for them to do something like what you do. So in that, deep tech is a very large bucket, and India is just starting on deep tech. While America and Israel are way ahead, and India is, in my opinion, slowly moved from services to internet-based economy to companies like fintech, consumer tech, yet tech, to now what is called as deep tech. So the next decade, we think it will be a lot of companies in deep tech, and we are in the early phase as a country. So in the deep tech, let us say it is 100%. 25% of my capital will go into chip design. Largely because I come with chip design background. Karthik, my partner, is also has chip design background, and arguably Libu is the best investor in chip design. So between the three of us, we have a good hang of chip design. So we're going to allocate 25% of the capital to chip design. Then, if you look at others bucket, which is aerospace and surveillance, Matthew comes with a significant credibility. He took MTAR to public. He took Data Patterns to public. Data Patterns is worth 13 or maybe 15,000 crores now in market. MTAR is probably 5,000 to 6,000 crores, which is in precision manufacturing. Data Patterns is in radar. And then he helped IdeaForge to go to public, which is probably the largest drone company today in India. So with Matthew, we have a reasonable good understanding of aerospace and surveillance, and I also have my own experience with IdeaForge Tonbo. So between the two of us, we think we have a good grasp. So again, another 25% of the capital we will give it to aerospace and surveillance. 25% to chip design, 25% to aerospace and surveillance. Now the rest 50%, we are just looking at what all things which India is good at. One place where we think India is really good at is robotics. We think China is way ahead in robotics. America is also, is doing well. But we think India has a huge opportunity in robotics, and there are multiple companies you will see coming out in robotics. So robotics is one of our thesis. Second is life science is an opportunity. Life science requires tons of capital, but there will be pockets where with some limited capital, we can still create a good company. So life science is an opportunity where we are going to back. Then, needless to say, manufacturing India is like coming up very, very heavily, and China plus one is an opportunity. And you've seen a lot of precision manufacturing happen in India. We never knew companies like MTAR before, which is in precision manufacturing, going to public. Sansara is gone to public. Jyoti as a machine company has gone to public. So you see tons of activity in manufacturing. So smart manufacturing is some place which is where we think India is going to be very strong and already has a good base. So that is going to be one focus area. And the last area is India is traditionally good in software, and software is all moving towards AI. So AI will be a very large focus for us in Yali. So summarizing again, 25% in chip design, 25% in aerospace and surveillance, another 50% will be going into robotics, life science, smart manufacturing, and AI. This is how we are planning to distribute our capital.
Okay, very nice. Can you give us a quick update on the startups that you have already invested in? I'm aware of some 4 or 5 names. Can you just walk us through what's the latest?
Okay, so let me again start with the thesis. So early stage we have done today 4. Late stage we have done 1. The late stage I will skip for some time being, but it is in this aerospace and surveillance area. But in the early stage, we have done a company in chip design called C2I Semiconductors. If you look at fabless, AI-based semiconductor has seen tremendous growth. Non-AI portion of semiconductors not seen that much growth. The AI portion of semiconductors would be companies like Nvidia, Broadcom, Marvell, Allchip, some extent TSMC, because 25% of TSMC revenue comes from AI. So C2I is a semiconductor company which is doing power semiconductors, especially to power high compute GPUs or CPUs like Nvidia chips and Intel chips. A very strong team from Texas Instruments, and that is one company which we have invested, and that is in the area of chip design. In the area of life science, we have invested in a company called 4Base Care. Cancer is still a very difficult problem, and now what is called as precision oncology is happening. What it essentially means is, for a particular mutation of the cancer, a specific drug, if it is used, it has got the highest chance to cure. So basically they do the DNA or the sequencing of the tumor, identify the mutation, and then map it to what is a precision drug. And you want to do this at a fraction of the cost which is there in the US. So we almost do it like a 1/3 of the cost of what's happening in the US. And we are almost serving like 700 to 800 patients on a monthly basis. While we started in India, we now have our labs now in Dubai, Philippines, Nepal, all functional. So that is the second company which we are doing in life science. Robotics, I mentioned to you, is an important area. We are backing a company called Perceptine, which is a humanoid robotics with dexterity, tactile sensors, etc. Very smart, very smart, experienced. Again, IIT Bits Pilani type of team based out of Hyderabad. They're initially creating robots which will help in automation of the manufacturing plants, and then eventually we will get into the physical AI, which is what China and America is targeting. But we'll initially start with some 3-4 important problems and create robots to solve that problem in this manufacturing plants. So that is one of the company. And the fourth is we have a company called Try and Buy, which is in the creating AI based tools for your virtual try on. So in e-commerce, you have to create a lot of ads and catalogs for people to see it in the online. And if it is do it through the traditional photographs, etc., it's very time consuming and expensive. So this company has automated the entire thing, and they also can do mix and match. Essentially, you can go to Amazon or Myntra, whatever it is, wear a particular shirt, pant, try out a watch, try a cooling glass. I mean, try all these gadgets all at one time. And it does it accurately. And there's a lot of AI, physics, math in this. Very strong company based out of Noida. So that is the fourth company we have done. So as you see that I've covered that entire space, right? Chip design, life science, robotics, and AI. And in the aerospace and surveillance, we have done one company, and we have also given. We are in advanced discussion with one company, AI-based company on code modernization. We are also in an advanced discussion with a laser company, which is creating a high power laser. So these are all some of the companies we have kind of invested and having discussions.
Okay, I'm going to circle back to the chip design and semiconductor part a little down the line, but that you are thinking that a lot of interesting work is happening in robotics really caught my attention. Can you give us a sense of what you are seeing? What are some of the areas where you think very good work is happening in India in robotics?
See, e-commerce warehouse automation, India is very strong. I mean, you saw that with the gray orange robotics. Gray orange robotics does do a lot of robots now, even outside India. So e-commerce warehouse automation, there's tons of companies which is doing extremely well, and also scaled to an extent. And then you come to AMR, which is essentially moving things within a manufacturing plant from point A to point B, right? So that's again happening in a large scale. At least I think tens of companies I've seen as a startup. The one that immediately comes to my mind is Athi Motors. Athi Motors has done extremely well. Then Answer Robotics, I think is the correct name. I hope I remember it right. Is done very well. So AMR Robotics is another place where India has done extremely well. Humanoid robotics is starting. Humanoid robotics is required in multiple places, even in defense, for example, in the boundary, when in the border, in the international border, you ideally need, a kind of some kind of a various combination of sensors, and whenever an intruder is there, you want the robot to move and shoot that intruder once it's confirmed that it's an intruder, right? All this will be robotics based. So there is lots of work that is happening in defense, in the robotic space. EMS manufacturing, which is what we are focusing initially, there is a lot of activity that is happening there. um, Eventually the physical AI will happen. I mean, it's not there yet. Even in China, I don't think there is a business model yet. But like a robot sitting in the house, and super less expensive, maybe at a $10,000, you will have a robot which is able to interpret and understand completely in native language and execute all the tasks. See, ChatGPT today understands whatever you speak or write in your own language, but just imagine somebody else, apart from understanding, are able to execute the task, like going and shutting the door, serving you coffee, whatever it is, right? And that is not very far ahead. And and you will see that is called physical AI. So that type of robots is also going to happen. So it's a combination of all this will happen in India, starting from warehouse automation plus to AMR companies to humanoid type robotics.
Hmm. Can you talk about the humanoid side a bit more in the sense that are they I mean, let's leave aside the consumer side for now, but in the industrial automation context, and as you mentioned in strategic sectors and defense and so on, uh, are there any use cases, applications where the humanoid form factor offers an inherent advantage? Why do we need humanoids in these applications?
So see, there are see first is there are places in EMS manufacturing where wherever there is a robots is used eventually, and if it is inexpensive, it will prove to be very useful, correct? Because it's working 24/7, and lots of issues are reduced. um, but having said that, so let's take some industries like steel industry and chemical industry. It's extremely toxic for human beings to be there, right? I mean, human beings should not be spending time in some of these plants which is with high temperature, and you are wearing all kinds of protective gear to go even into the plant, and those and all has to be done through robots. So, and those type of work is probably the place where the robots will start initially. But later on, there are several other areas where the humanoid robotics will be uh, uh, far more interesting and capital efficient to deploy.
No, I mean, my question is also about the following. I mean, in terms of the form factor, does the humanoid form factor, I mean, human like form factor, does it offer an advantage of any kind versus other form factors of robots? Is what I want to understand better.
See, in EMS companies, sometimes if it's working within an existing infrastructure, which is called brownfield, and you are replacing a human, okay, a humanoid form factor is useful. You agree with me? So, for example, if you're taking a printed circuit board and breaking into multiple pieces, which is called depaneling, and it is all done with humans in mind today, and if your robot has to replace it, it really makes sense to have a robot with a humanoid, the human type form factor, right? But there are other areas which is greenfield, where there is no infrastructure that has been created around you. Like for example, the international uh, border, right? There you don't need a necessarily a humanoid. That robot will be like a it could be even it will be like an autonomous vehicle with all this offensive guns, etc., installed over them and multiple sensors operating, and it will do its function. So the way to understand is, if it is a there are certain places where the humanoid type of robots have its own application, but everything else which is new, the technology may be same, but need not, the form factor could be different.
Okay. Uh, One more question on robotics, but this is probably also true of other so called frontier technologies as they are being called today. One of the latest examples that I'm aware of is a figure raising $1 billion in funding. So, in that context, when companies in the US are able to raise in billions of dollars, and in Europe, certainly, if not hundreds of millions, they can definitely raise several tens of millions of dollars. In India, that's not the case. Also, of course, the ecosystem itself is much more nascent. I get that. My question is, given this disparity, if you put on your investors' hat, how do you see Indian robotic startups becoming globally competitive?
So, see, the same question was asked about China 15 years back. Now, China, there is no more questions asked on robotics, right? So, it's absolutely correct statement that the America is way ahead in terms of startup ecosystem and venture capital. And Europe, not to that extent, but certainly better than, maybe UK is better than, or better than. But see, in terms of pure venture capital amount, UK and India pretty much gets the similar amount. America gets far higher, maybe 7 to 8 times more than us. Israel is very strong. Israel is able to attract extraordinary amount of VC capital. Uh, and for its size, I mean, still not very large, but for its size, it gets a huge amount of capital. So the way to think about is let's first. I think more and more the VCs understands that the VCs gets excited when a particular company has given results. If you put money X and if that has returned like a 5x, 10x, VCs gets excited in that area, right? In India, there's not many deep techs we have created, right? And once we go through that cycle, that it may take us some 7 8 years more, that you have invested 25 million and it has given you $1 billion return. So some 3 4 examples like that happens, automatically the interest to put large and large capital into the companies will happen. So as of today, you're absolutely right in saying that we may not be able to attract $1 billion capital into a deep tech company, but it will eventually happen. Maybe 7 8 years will happen. But what is the advantage for India it's also something you need to remember. For a given capital, India is very good in frugal engineering. India is very good in frugal engineering. With a given capital, we are able to use it fully, and maybe our productivity is way higher because our cost structures is much lower. So my gut feel says that for a given dollar, the amount of progress that can be done in a startup in India will be tremendous, and China is also extremely good at that. So once people start seeing a large exits, I'm hoping that more and more money will come into the deep tech. See, the fact that 893 crores we are claiming is the largest deep tech fund, as deep tech as the thesis itself is it shows you that we are so early, right? It's 105 million, and we are saying that it's it's the largest fund in India towards deep tech. Which that itself shows you that how early we are in this game. It has to be multi-billion-dollar to go to a certain stage. Eventually it'll happen. It'll take some 7-8 years. How competitive will be in that during that phase? We will be, because there will be certain problems which India can solve, right? I mean, for example, there are problems which are very India specific. That's something which we can pick it up. And if you are able to create a robot, and let's say in a toxic environment where humans are the only places are deployed, and also you are competitive, you are able to recover the cost of the robot within 2 years, and if you're successfully able to do it in India's price points, just imagine how much we can do it in Western markets with those robots. So this will happen for sure. So once we create competitive robots, which is going to be deployed in India, and you have a financial model that is working, it's very easy for these companies to scale outside of India.
That's it for today. You can find links to all the headlines in the show notes wherever you get your podcasts. For my pick of daily headlines on deep tech and climate tech from India and around the world, please listen to India Tech Report Daily Morning Brief. To support my work, please subscribe to my posts at indiatechreport.in if you'd like to get all these in one place. I'm Hari Arakli. Thank you for listening.